we know it took a lot to start your private practice, to go out to whether it's part-time or full-time and kind of go down that path. And there's probably a lot that you told yourself as you started going to like shore yourself up and get yourself going. And there is nothing more kind of disheartening or frustrating to be in that struggle place of like, oh, I did this thing and I started it. And now like, oh God, this is like harder than I thought it was going to be. This is taking longer. Like there's so much that I don't even know what I don't know, but like I'm figuring out, like I really don't know. So first and foremost, you are not alone. There is nothing out there that says you were supposed to figure out and know all this on your own. Nobody goes into this knowing all the stuff that they need to know. And I think also I want to call out the fact that most of us went to school. I mean, you can put in the chat or you can raise your hand that you went to school thinking that like private practice was a thing someday. Like that was definitely like a thing someday for me. And then by the time I got out of grad school, like I was like, oh, that's definitely not a thing. Because they don't teach us and prepare us at all for being business owners and like what clinical work looks like in private practice. There's no preparation or there's some kind of disconnect along the way, because what we're reading in a book maybe seems a little more private practice. And then we go into practicum or internships, and that doesn't look anything like what was in the book. And it doesn't look anything like what's in private practice most of the time. And so we're in this like weird space where even as we're starting our business, it's not even just like we're struggling maybe with the marketing or what to charge or, billing people. We're also kind of struggling with like dynamically, clinically, like, what does this look like? And how do I have these conversations on the phone with people? And what does the first session look like? And why aren't people staying? What am I doing wrong in this whole thing? Like, why don't people like me? Is it because of my fee? Is it because of this? Is it like, is my couch not comfortable? Like whatever the thing is. And we just start to like get in our heads about all of it. So today is really about helping you hear from other people what this experience is like.
Well, for those of you who are hopping in, who were not here for our first Q&A, I'm Kelly Higdon. This is Miranda Palmer. Together we are Zinni Me. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to do this Q&A so that you can meet other business schoolers and hear their stories, to also know that you aren't alone, for you to remember that there are many paths to having a practice that you love. And I am so grateful to our business schoolers for showing up and giving their time. They are very busy people, and we teach them that if you ask to pick their brain, that they say, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. But this is a way that they are giving back to the community. So thank you, each of you, for being here. Post your questions in the chat. I'll be going through them as we go through here, as we do the introductions. But if you have questions about business school, about building a practice, you have some experts here beyond me and Miranda. Mm-hmm. We have Megan, Lisa Beth, Lisa Manka, Stara Shakti. So Khan just left. Oh, Khan they had to run. So okay. It's okay. Let's go through with introductions. Lisa, you've been hanging out. You came in a little early. Tell everybody about your practice, where you were before business school, where you're at now.
So I'm a dance movement therapist and licensed professional clinical counselor in San Francisco. And I had a private practice started. I don't think I ever told you guys how I started my private practice. I was in a really, really bad like social work position. And I was like, I hate this. I hate case management. And I had like maybe a couple clients, and then I figured out I could rent the space, and I filled my schedule with 14 clients, and I had a folding chair and a couch, and I opened my practice, and that was all I had.
I love it. A folding chair and a couch.
I got the folding chair and they sat in the couch, and I was just like, okay, well, I know they're not coming back for the decor, so I guess I have something to offer, but it was a little rough. but I always was full, but it was probably like 25 insurance clients, which is so much work. And then during the pandemic, I was like, okay, I need to look at these business things that usually I hide from. Like I don't like marketing, and I don't like any of these things. And my friend actually sent me your free training. And then I hopped on and I won the business school boot camp. Like that was just like my experience. And then that's how I ended up with working with you guys. And now this is my first year that my gross is like 6 figures for my business. So that's my story. Yeah.
Doing dance movement work
Yeah.
I love the kind of work that you do. I think it's cool.
Yeah. And I love that too, of like from a folding chair and 25 insurance clients burning myself out to 6-figure gross. And I know that too, like, and I want to be clear too. It was very kind of you to share that number. Like those numbers, like there's a difference between gross and profitability. Like those are pieces, like that's not the magic number. But what I do know for Lisa, because she's in business school, is she knows what her magic number is. She knows what the gross is that she needs to hit to have the take-home income that's sustainable for her living in San Francisco. Like she knows what those numbers are. So it's not just about a magic gross number. I hate the word gross as our like gross number. It's not just a magical income number. It's also hey, here's my target that's based on what I need to be a great clinician and to be happy and healthy and financially stable.
Yeah.
You know, like I love that. I love it.
Lisa Beth, we'll just go with the Lisas today.
Right.
Lisa Beth.
I started my practice in 2008, and I'm in a really economically disadvantaged town in New Hampshire. And I just had this self-limiting belief that I couldn't really do much to improve my situation. I was burnt out. I was burnt to a crisp, and I didn't really even know it. And my business wasn't running smoothly. And I took everyone who called. Basically, I was on insurance, and I started with the marketing masterclass, and that just like really grabbed me. It was like, wow, there's so much information here, and it's just free. And so I started digging into, boot camp, and realized there's a whole program here that could really help me not only turn around my business, but honestly turn around my life. My life has improved so much as my business has grown. And with boot camp, there's a roadmap. It just takes you step by step. And I know that I can keep coming back as I grow and my business grows, and I learn new things, and I grow and stretch, and I'm willing to step out of my comfort zone and do new things.
You have done a lot of that.
Like when I first started my first round of boot camp, I did skip a lot because it was like, there's no way I'm doing that. That's like way too scary. Fuck that.
Right on.
And then I learned the second round, wow, they really know what they're talking about. And I try new things. I do videos, and like that, I never thought I'd do. And I just see, how things are really able to blossom and grow. And so I'm just so excited to go through boot camp again and see where I end up at the end of 2 weeks. So
The thing that I'm struck by is like I kind of wish, and I know there's probably somewhere, is like if you were to even look at Lisa Beth, not just on video, but like Lisa Beth before business school. When I think about like the way that you were just kind of like your energy, like the light, when you said burnt to a crisp, right? Like, I think like that looks a certain way. It feels a certain way in the body. and like to see you today, right? To
Carry a
see
light.
and that, yeah, there's a little glow, and I don't think it's makeup, y'all. Like I think like there's just this like ooh kind of space, and I know there's more to go, and I know there's all the pieces, but like that uncovering, I know Stara mentioned it in the last round, that idea of like I get to she said, like, I'm turning into the person, whatever, I'm turning into a different person. We're like, no, we're just taking all the weights and releasing the pieces that are keeping you from being you and being fully present in the world. It's beautiful. I love it. Stara.
Okay, so thank you. So I'm Stara Shakti, for those of you who haven't met yet. And I have been in practice, licensed practice. I've been in practice for 7 years, but I've been licensed and in my own private practice this is like the 1-year anniversary, right about now. So I joined boot camp about 6 months into my practice, and I was thinking about the video, Elizabeth, when you said the video, I was thinking about the video I made, the first video I made as part of one of the assignments in that very first 2-week live working session in October when I joined. And I was like in tears. I was in tears recording my video, because it was a bittersweet thing. It was like painful to explain this, to finally be seen, and then it was also sweet and joyful to finally be seen. And that's how I felt in boot camp, and now it would be such a different video. So I'm just reflecting back. Thanks for the opportunity to memory lane.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Star. Do you want to share a little bit about what, because I know, again, we're kind of replicating from the other part, but what did your practice look like financially when you started before business school? And what does it look like today?
Oh, well, I mean, I can just say I spent a lot of my life, we're talking 2 decades, kind of living very poor. Believe it or not, I had a lot of limiting money beliefs and family of origin money trauma that I was still working through, and didn't quite value myself the way that I do now. So I was my clientele was 80% sliding scale, and by sliding scale I mean some of them were 50, 65, 75, under 100 or under, and now it's 90% full fee, $200. I'm not taking more sliding scale slots at this time. I think I have 1 client maybe left, and so it's been a big shift in mindset, and it's been a big shift in just feeling the confidence, that sure, I can do this, why not, so before I had a lot of doubts because of the family of origin trauma around my model, the whole model minority stereotype. My mom never forgave me for not being a doctor, still hasn't forgiven me, but it's her choice. I'm happy living my life, and I'm now financially successful, and I'm just really, I'm grateful for this path, and for the things, the confidence that boot camp has given me, and the information too, so.
I
That's
mean,
me.
like you're healing some transgenerational trauma around money and
Yes.
finances and about being seen, right? Like
Mhm.
feeling that, Stara, and
Mm.
it's beautiful to watch.
Mm.
I love it.
And some of being seen trauma is like past life too. So it's deep. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm here and I'm finally like letting myself be seen. And I'm realizing that's what I love most about working with my clients is helping them feel seen.
It's beautiful.
Courtney, I saw you came in a little bit. You want to share about your practice, where you were before and now after business school? How are you?
Hi. Sorry I'm a little late. I just
It's
got out
okay.
of session. So yeah, I did the business school, the last cycle of it, and it was really helpful with, oh my gosh, the SEO piece. I will say that my practice is smaller than I wanted it to be right now, but I don't think that was because of like the content. It was more so related to it just so happened that everything in my family system decided to happen all at once. And I kind of had to take on some kind of a caregiver role because I had a family member that had back surgery. So I ended up needing to take care of them. And because I wasn't able to work on my practice, I ended up joining a group practice, but I found them through Zinni.me because you guys utilized them as an example website, Kindful Body.
Oh, you work
For Marcella.
Marcella.
Oh my God, I love her. I love her so much. And it's fascinating getting to kind of see how, because like I've like kind of just seeing like the content and being like, oh yeah, no, that's how that looks when you're really able to put in the time to work on it. And like I'm still doing my own solo practice, and it gives me motivation and inspiration to keep working on mine because of how well Marcella's is going. I don't want to leave Marcella or anything like that, but it makes me want to like really, really work and dig deep on mine.
I just want to say, like, I'm gonna cry. Marcella came to us looking to like build a course. And because they were overworked and seeing way too many clients and weren't able to meet the demand. And I'm very like client oriented. And Marcella was someone that I probably, if I've ever strong armed somebody into doing something and like pulled them down the path, it was Marcella and doing group practice. It was one of those things where you just like know in your body, like this is what's supposed to happen. And like, it was like, I was very patient with, I remember probably like 6 or 9 months of me like suggesting and saying, what if we did this? And what if it, and like, I can't do that. And I wouldn't be good at that. No one would want to work for me. And like, I don't, it's a, like, I can't do that. I live in the city and, trying to find commercial office space is an issue. And I was like, no, like this can be virtual. Like, why would anyone want to work for me in virtual? No, you'd be amazing to work with. Like, here's all of it. It was like, I just like knew it in my heart of hearts. She has virtual locations all over California, I don't even know, I haven't checked in a minute of how many employees that she has. And she just cares so freaking deeply for each of them. Her caseload is now at a sustainable place. And now she can do the course because she actually has space to do the course and do these other things. And she has this wonderful platform and community of people that are part of the bigger thing that could be part of the course. So it all come together beautifully. But
I think it's a really, Courtney, I'm glad you're sharing that like life happens and how do you pivot and how do you pivot in a way that works for you? Because we all have different circumstances and different levels of privilege that put us in, we have different decisions we have to make. And so the fact that you said, okay, this is what I need to do in order for me to still maintain my life and be a caregiver. And now I'm going to create the space to go back. We can always pivot. So thank you for sharing that. Megan, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
I thought I was just a lurker on this one.
Oh, do you want to be a lurker?
You can be a lurker. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to be a lurker today. And this one.
That's
Perfect.
fine. So one of the questions that, and I saw some new business schoolers in here. I saw Grinda. I saw Maria, another Maria. And so welcome in here. Hey, Grinda. Grinda's already through her module 1.
Congrats, Brenda. Can I just share something? Brenda and I went to like our grad school together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she
And there's
just like
Maria.
messaged me, and also Andrea, I'm not sure how to say her name. We also went to school together, so it's like a
Awesome.
little Antioch reunion.
Awesome. Grinda and
love it.
Maria, how are you guys doing? You want to, how's it going in your first round of business school?
Your first few days.
Well, you're in the new cohort, so.
I'm not sure I can talk without crying, so you have to bear with me.
Oh.
But when I came into the intro that you had, I cried all the way through it. Like it was just, I just felt like I have built this machine that I'm in the middle of that's somehow running me at a pace that's not humanly manageable. And, you know, it's scary to feel like you've had success, but the success is just drowning you in it. And I don't want to work my life to death. And there was something, I think the way you just opened it and gave us permission to have our feelings and just acknowledge the isolation and the feeling like the shame, the feeling like I'm in this by myself. I did this to myself and everybody else must be doing it right. And I must be the one that's just completely fucked up. And to just have this experience that the room was full of other therapists feeling similar experiences was just in itself like so healing. And I just left that session with no choice. It was like, I just felt like divine intervention had occurred and I was where I needed to be in the moment. And I literally, the only thing I had not finished in module 1 was a little session on tapping. So I woke up this morning with a headache and I'm like, I got to finish that tapping thing. I mean, I was just by the way, Kelly, you in the closet and was just like, I said, oh my gosh, I have a crush on her. Like the fact that you just freaking get in a closet and videotape yourself with no makeup on and say, I want you to record this video, which by the way, whoever said I will never record a video, I was right there with
That was Lisa Beth.
But I have to tell you, like, I was so inspired at how vulnerable you were. And I was just like, if you can get in a closet and make a video with no makeup on and be so full of joy, freaking, I can sit on my sofa and make a video in my pajamas. And so I did it. And then I did this tapping thing this morning, which by the way, I was like, this is a bunch of hooey. But after I did it, I just got willing. And after I did it, you guys, I'm not kidding you. Like I woke up with this terrible headache. And by the time I was done doing all the little things and hit my head and doing this thing, I didn't have a headache anymore. And I'm going to feel like my clients are going to think I've like gotten religion. I'm going to be like in my practice going, okay, we're going to do this today. I just really want you to try it. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, it's just, I'm so inspired, you know, and if that's what I've gotten in like module 1, I've just been willing. I sent out the little thing that you were like, I want you to ask your friends and family 3 things that are your strengths. And I thought, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And then I just got willing and I did it. And you guys, I was just blown away. You know, it's like people reflected back to me things that I didn't see in myself, you know, and it's like, I became a therapist because of all sorts of trauma. And what you said in that workshop was, we were all having a trauma response. And it just made so much sense. I'm sitting here with a cucumber. It just made so much sense to me. I'm getting ready to go to work, so I'm making my lunch while I'm doing this.
It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, I was just like, holy shit, that's exactly what's happening to me. I'm in the middle of all my trauma. And I've done exactly what I do, which is I rely on myself. I trust me to do it. I'm going to work my ass to the bone. I can do that. I know I can do that. I have survived all of that. I can survive this too. But I just, part of that fundamental underlying belief system is I had to do it alone. And the vulnerability of like asking for help and being seen by all of these other people who feel the same way is like the places I need to push into with my clients. And so if I can't do it and I can't risk, how am I going to help them do it and risk? And so I'm so grateful to you guys. I've been following you on the periphery since I was in grad school. Like your emails have been dropping into my inbox and it's been on my someday maybe list, but I just got in enough pain to do it. So my hope and prayer is that other people don't have to be in as much pain as I was in order to find you and get here. So thank you. Will you please open up module 2 so I can start?
Hang on.
It'll be
coming.
shortly. It'll be over shortly. I think, as you said, like you're not alone. And there is so much replicating that we do in our business. And there is that statement, like what we do in one thing is what we do in everything. And so the things that we're struggling with in our business are reflections of the things we're struggling with in our personal life and vice versa. And one of the beautiful things about this program that we have, not just that we believe in, that we see it, is that when you start to work on an area in one area of your life, it generalizes
Ripples.
to the other. So while this is a business building program, for sure, and it will transform your income and your schedule and your clinical outcomes and all of that. But there is this other piece as we uncover why you're doing the things that you're doing, and you start to do something differently, and you have permission, and then you get this like, oh, this feels really good in this area of my life. Then we start to do that in our personal life as well. And when we start to realize I'm good enough at work, then we start to realize like, oh, I'm good enough at home too. I'm good enough in all of these other areas. You know, when I learn how to ask for help at work or in my business, then I learn how to ask for help and receive help, or even just not even ask, just accept help in our personal lives. So there is this beautiful. The very first time that we did business school, and we did it as like a 7-day program. It really was a boot camp the first time, y'all. Like it was like, we didn't quite know. This was, 9 years ago. So like, it's been a minute. And the first time that we did it, I remember one person in particular saying, this is a therapist empowerment program disguised as a business building program. They said, I did not realize how much this would impact me as a human, as a therapist, like personally, relationally, spiritual, like all of the things. I didn't realize what an impact it would make. And, if you haven't figured out yet, somehow, Kelly and I are therapists. We are trained therapists. We didn't come into this work as like business consultants. We're like, this would be a great niche. We'll go ahead and teach therapists about business. We came into this as therapists who have built private practices, who have been there, done that, who have done clinical supervision. She's done group therapy. I've taught at the graduate level, like, new therapists or aspiring therapists. Like, this is us, totally. And we want to change.
Eating a banana.
This is Kelly eating a banana in support of Grinda's cucumber. I'm having my, this is electrolytes. And then a minute I have like a protein shake over there to help me sustain the 4 hours. But your clients need you, your people need you, you need you. And we want to support that. And also I'm chatting too much. We'll get back to y'all and the questions, but so the thing about the tapping that's really funny is that I went to a training with like a coach that came in. It was at like a business, it was like a women's networking thing. And she taught tapping. And I was like, this is a bunch of hoo-ha. This is a bunch of hooey. Like, I don't know. This seems really dumb. And then I had this trauma client that I went through all of my safe place exercises. I did all the things I learned in thousands of hours of training in graduate school, in my EMDR certification. I pulled out all the stops and like nothing was helping this client settle. And I was like, well, we could do this thing and it looks really dumb, but like, let's just do the thing. And I didn't do it as the EFT. I didn't do it in the full thing. We just did the tapping. And the client was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, no, it's great. Like, and then they're like, I'm going to practice this. And they came back and the client was like crying. They're like, I'm a tapper. Like, this is like, this, you don't understand. This has changed my life. And I was like, hell yeah. Okay, cool. And then I started trying it with more clients and finding this experience. So I think that is that it's a funny thing, right? I would have never thought that I would be a tapper. I would have thought that I would have taught thousands of therapists across the United States and abroad about like the joy of tapping. Like, who knew when I was sitting there going, this is a bunch of hooey. Like, this is weird. Yeah.
Maria and Haley, you're both 2022 cohort. Yes. You don't have to speak if you don't want to. Hey, Maria.
We just want to say hi and that we see you and we.
Well,
How's
I
it
do wanna
going?
say, it's a slow start, but I do want to say that I started in 2019 and I went through, I don't know, I was really trying to piece it together and I was wondering why there wasn't a book on how to do this because, of course, they don't teach you in school, and stumbled upon a couple of things, came upon, and I guess it was maybe the last day of the week of business boot camp, and won the paperwork packet.
Nice.
And I, like, put your name in the chat, and I was like, I can't do fast enough. Like, wait, what? Like, because it was really close to the end, y'all were moving fast, and I was like, oh, that's me. So I was really excited. I thought I had everything I needed. Here we are 3 years later, and I figured out some more things. I just spent a ton of money on a business coach who was meeting with me weekly and decided to do some group coaching. And I felt dropped and abandoned because it was like, we met on Thursday and then Sunday, she's like, yeah, so you can join the group or I can give you money back. And so she gave me some of my money back. So I was feeling a little lost. And I'm on the way out part of my career, that I'm not trying to work real hard. I'm not trying to see complicated trauma cases. My husband is looking to retire, and I have just not been generating the income that I need, that I want, that I need, but also that I want, because I probably want more than what I need, right?
Yes.
And part of my challenge has been my documentation, which I worked with Melissa, and just kind of finishing up her thing. And so that's been very helpful. So I'm on a slow roll to get that.
Good.
So I just got an email and I said, let me check this out. And,
I'm glad you're
the interesting thing is, I didn't really have the money then when I first encountered your course. And then I kept thinking, that's a lot of money. And I kept looking around. It's like, that's a lot of money. And then I took out credit to meet this business coach. I got a credit card. And I was like, spent a lot more money than I probably should have. And later I was like, well, that was the grace of God to get out of that, because I really would have been in a lot of debt. So the other day, and I was just like, well, you're gonna spend the credit anyway, and you're doing a little bit better than you were, and decided to go ahead and do this course, and particularly since it's lifetime access.
Yeah. Well, we'll have you pay that bill off soon.
Yeah. Yes. I think this is the piece that, like, it does seem like a lot of money until you get into it and you're like, oh, and you start piecemealing the things around, and you really do spend so much more. And to be honest, like, our business coaches that we have, right? We have business coaches too. We have people outside of us. They want us to absolutely not do lifetime access. Like, that is like a thing that they're like, do not do this. Like, you need to start charging a monthly. You need to start charging an annual. Like this is like not sustainable. And we're like, but we love it and it's amazing and like it makes us happy. So we challenge that and we explore it every year, every 6 months. We come back to the question of like, are we going to keep doing it this way? But there is like, it's unheard of, y'all, to go into a program like this and have that lifetime access and the kind of support that we give. So we're happy to do that. There's a great question here.
Well, what I love, Lisa already answered this for Danny, but I love Lisa's response because Danny asked, in a saturated market, it feels hard to believe that I can build a self-sustaining practice that is only private pay. And Lisa's like, I'm in San Francisco. You can swing a dead cat and hit a therapist. What do you feel like that? I think that was something we went through a lot, Lisa, together, talking about the whole like, how are you going to stand out? What makes you unique? How do you speak to the kind of work that you do? Because you are in a saturated area.
And I think also because you're a dance and movement therapist, which is kind of out of the norm. Like, how do I describe that? Are people going to look for that? How do I?
Do you remember that at all, Lisa?
Yeah, I do.
Especially when you got off insurance.
Yeah. And I think dance movement therapy is tricky because people don't know as much what it is. So basically, brief, whatever. Dance movement therapy uses movement as a way to get into the psychotherapeutic process. And as a dance movement therapist, I had to train and analyze movement for psychological themes. So not just like, can you get like your body into this thing? It's like, well, what is your body saying about what your mind is doing? And then the opposite is true too, like the movement interventions. Like yesterday I had a woman come to me that was, she was a dancer, and I was like, like you keep talking about everything with your head. I was like, I want you to just drop out of that. And I want you to find a place in your body that feels good and move from that place. And we're not going to analyze it. We're not going to, so it's such an interesting way to tap into things. And then, but I think for a long time in my career, I saw it as a little bit of an obstacle to overcome rather than a strength, because I am constantly explaining what the hell dance movement therapy is. Like it can be exhausting, right? And so I think leaning into this is the kind of work that I like to do was really helpful. And then also, just because a market is saturated with therapists doesn't mean they're good therapists. Like, let's just like put that out there. Cause I had one client, and I'm like sitting here and, this is when I first started, and I was like struggling to make sure I was asking the right questions and all this. And he's like, oh yeah, my friend had to fire her therapist. And I was like, oh, why? And the guy had fallen asleep on her like several times. So let's just be real. Like, just because there's tons of therapists doesn't mean they're good or worth the money, So I just want to point that out.
And this is not an uncommon experience. And I think this is one of the pieces of burnout, of chronic illness that's all through our profession. And there's this chronically underpaid and overworked people. So you put that together, of course, you're going to have people who are falling asleep. You're going to have people who are checked out. You're going to have people who forget like what somebody said in session, that they're not writing the notes and they can't remember what happened. And so they're kind of like figuring it out from time to time, and there's no plan or what have you. Like those are natural outcomes when you're trying to work within a broken system. And part of what our like deeper meaning is, we want to change the system. We want to create a healthy system. We want to make this the norm. That like what Courtney was talking about going to work for a group practice and going, this feels good. Yeah, this wasn't what I was thinking I was going to do in the midst, but like, hey, I'm someone's caregiver now. And like, I don't have time and energy to kind of work and invest in the business part of it. But like, oh my gosh, this feels good to work for this place. I'm making a sustainable income. Like I see the bigger picture of this, like this feels good. That's what it should feel like. And that's not what it feels like for most of us, whether we're working for a group practice, we're working for agencies, we're working for large tech employers. Like that's not the experience. People are getting bait and switched, right? So like there are people who are coming into private practice, they're struggling to get clients, or they're starting out and they're going to work for BetterHelp or some other big tech employer. And, the word that someone used this week was like bait and switch, that like they gave me these numbers And they made it seem like it was this easy thing and I was getting a position. And then I started and realized, oh, I'm actually starting a business. I have to become a business owner. I have to do all this paperwork. And like, oh, that number they gave me was based on something that was like really kind of crazy, unsustainable, that I'm going to be working 60, 70 hours a week in order to hit that number. And now I have to take out self-employment taxes and all these other things that like, they didn't really like give me that number. They're just like, look at this. You can make 6 figures a year from home, working in your pajamas. It's going to be great. And then they're like, wait a minute. Like, this is not okay, you know?
Alvi asks, and I want to hear from y'all, Lisa Beth, Stara, Lisa. I just started my practice last month and the struggle is real. I'm actively fighting the discouragement of being solo and I just started. Are my expectations too big? Can you dream too big? Lisa Beth, I see you.
Yeah, no, you definitely can't dream too big. And I encourage you to even dream bigger because it's possible. And I think what makes it possible, or what made it possible for me, is showing up. When I show up and I ask my questions and I participate is when I really grow and my practice is in flow. When I stumble and feel overwhelmed and don't listen to myself, or listen to the tapes, the negative tapes that are swirling in my head, that's when I hide. And I would just really encourage you to put your questions out there and ask for support, and know that we are really here for you. And we've all been there, and some of us are still there, you know? So no, your dreams are not too big, and think about dreaming even bigger. And maybe you'll fall back into the place of where you are now, and that'll seem more real.
Lisa.
Yeah, I think it helps to think about the things you don't. Okay, so I worked in not agencies. I worked in county and state, and I was doing inpatient psych for years, right? And all I could think when I got my practice was like, I don't have to go to another fucking team meeting. I don't have to do it. I was so happy. I don't have to kiss anyone's ass to get them to listen to me. I don't have to, I'm sorry. It was just what happened. It was just like, oh, it's such a fucking relief. I don't have to kiss the psychiatrist's ass to get them to listen to what I actually see with the client. It was so beautiful. So lean into the things that feel good, that you're like, I don't have to talk to my boss about my coworker, I don't know, splitting our freaking borderline client. It was just so nice. So maybe try and lean into these things, right? These things that feel really good. Yes, you are on your own in a lot of ways, but there's some real beautiful things about that. And some of that is peace of mind. And yes, you're responsible for your own decisions, but they're your decisions. And how cool is that, So I would just think about that. For me, that was so much weight off. After I don't know, 7 to 10 years of agency and work, I was like, I'm done. So.
I just want to speak to it a little bit about my process when I started and leaving. I kind of left the same scenario Lisa did with county and psych and all of that, and inpatient psych. And some of that place of feeling alone, it's not so bad when you like who you are and when you see the good in yourself, and that you remember that you're capable, that you got this far, and that you were built with an internal compass. And one of the things that came out of our burnout training, and all of last week with our Joy Rally, was really focusing on embodiment. That's why I like Lisa's work and stuff. I think it's so cool. But tapping into some wisdom. And that's our hope with business school, that it builds that muscle that you, like Lisa Beth was saying, there's these tapes that aren't really me. And how do we slow them down or hit pause on them and get back into the true voice of who we are? Because being alone is scary if you don't know who this is. But as you start to build and remember your wise self and those wise parts, it gets less scary. And then too, having people reflect that back to you, you know, having Lisa Beth be visible and like post a video and say, this is what I'm gonna put on my website. I'm freaking out. And everyone's like, this is good. Do this. I like that. Like having mirrors that are there to support you, also remind you of who you are at your core, and having that kind of scaffolding, I think, is important.
I think it's also, again, going back to this idea that like we're supposed to know how to do all the things initially. So sometimes what comes up as part of this process too is like your wise self is saying, I actually like, I need some more support in this. Like I need to learn how to do some things. There's some skills. It may have been unrealistic to that you would grow at this pace and that you would know 100% of all the things you need to know to like get to whatever the goal is by whatever date you had set in your mind, right? So it may be adjusting that, getting into your wise self and saying like, oh yeah, like 20 clients in 6 weeks when like I don't know anything about websites or marketing. like oh that might not have like been like that's not there, but like, am I capable of learning how to do this? Yes. Right? Is there support in learning how to do this? Yes, absolutely. You are not alone. You are not the first person. You are capable, but there may be some things that we have to figure out and learn, and that's okay. That doesn't make you less than. It doesn't mean that like what you like that place of moving. When I started my private practice, I'm very logical in some very specific ways. Like I'm a numbers person, I'm a math person, like I'm a that person. But also I have this intuitive part. And when intuition, whether that's prayer or something else, says you're going to do this thing, and it's like there's a particular way it feels, and it's like, oh, I have to do the thing. And I might do it kind of kicking and screaming, but I will follow it because I know that when I hear that voice, when I hear that sense, it's like, this is the thing I'm supposed to do. Well, that's what private practice was for me. There was no math involved. There was no anything. It was, here's the thing. And I went to try to go and get support, and I did a coaching program that was better than nothing, but they didn't really teach me the things that I know today. I had to learn those things on my own. And some of those things I had to learn honestly through my first coaching clients, because I didn't know what I didn't know. So I'm like supporting people and doing things and teaching people things, 15 years ago that like today I'd be like, oh my gosh, I would never tell someone that, because I had learned that from someone else. I replicated it. Then I went and started looking and going, oh, that actually doesn't work long-term. Here's what that leads to. Oh, wait, I have become more aware. And I think that's one of the things that I love about what we do in business school, and the fact that it is this group program that we've had so many people come through it, is that we've really tested not just like what worked for one person or another person, like what really works ongoing, and like where's the wiggle in it. So like here's the general thing, like this works, here are the ways to do it, and all of these different ways work. So like what feels good in your body, and here are the things that like if you put your head in the sand about money and numbers, like it doesn't work for anybody. So like let's make it as easy as possible. Let's give you your magic dashboard, and let's start to unpack the money stuff for you. Like let's dig into it,
Yeah. So we have about 9 minutes left. I would love to hear from you all can keep posting your questions, but I'd love to hear from our other business schoolers in terms of, for anyone out there who's struggling, who's working to bring to fruition. They've started their practice, but they're trying to get it to where they want it to be. What is one thing you think that could be of encouragement to them?
Sarah.
Go at your own pace. That's something that I realized in boot camp. It's like, don't compare yourself to other people, other therapists, where they're at. Like, just honor your energy and your flow and like your intuition about what you need to do, next, and then the next, and then the next step. Just trust yourself and have patience, because it takes time.
Yeah.
And lean on on us as community to keep supporting and encouraging you along the way.
Awesome. Thanks, Stara. Lisa, Monka.
I think you don't have to buy into hustle culture, right? Like, you don't have to, because I think I used to, a lot of the time would just be like, well, I'm not working hard enough if I'm not doing something 24/7. And there are days where I have lazy mornings, and that's okay. And it's just like, it's not the working harder, it's the working smarter piece, right? So we don't have to. All right, for me, marketing seems to have worked best when I just make these individual connections. So I pour into that, and I haven't poured into my website or the SEO as much, and maybe I should, but this piece is working. Lean into that piece, So
Find the ease.
Yeah. You laid the groundwork for that other stuff. You did that and you let it go after you did.
Yeah. And then I just wasn't going to obsess over it. And then I was like, well, I made these relationships and they seem to be working. I don't need, like, one of my best referrals. And I think or my referral sources. It was just a dude I reached out to on LinkedIn. I've never met the man. Like, he's cool. I have like 3 or 4 clients with him now, and we'll have like, every couple months we'll have a conversation how our clients are doing. I refer to him, he refers to me. Like, so just don't. And I had this really cool experience. This is so you never know where your sources, your clients are going to come from. So when I started my business, I put business cards up randomly in like dance centers, right? And this year, somebody reached out to me and goes, hi, so I was looking for a dance therapist and somebody had your card from this ballet 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. I put up this card, and we're looking for a dance therapist to do like 3 workshops for our students at this particular school in San Francisco. And I was just like, all the shit, like, never, like, so just, and also you just never know where something's gonna come from. Like, right. So I mean, I tacked it up at a ballet school that I know, like 6 years later, somebody'd be like, here's a job. No, it was so funny.
I think that's what happens too. And if we weren't asking the questions, if we weren't like paying attention to that, we wouldn't know. And I think there is something about too with our marketing. There are things that have a short-term impact and things that have a longer-term impact, right? Some things take longer for fruition. And I love to, for those of you who are listening, notice that like LinkedIn is not what we usually think of when we think about social media, right? We think about like making reels on Instagram or getting on TikTok, or I've got to become, Insta famous or whatever BS or whatever. It can be as simple as connecting in with someone in your area, or that could be a potential referral source, and saying, hi, nice to meet you. Can I learn more about your business? Because I think some of my clients could really use you.
Yeah.
And we show you how to do that for sure.
Lisa Beth, did you want to add anything?
I would repeat some of what has already been said in terms of going at your own pace and recognizing my limitations. Like, just this week, I realized that with my battle buddy, I was setting myself up for failure by saying, okay, these are my goals and this is what I'm going to accomplish today. When in actuality, I had a full day of clients and I had to leave early. So that it was crazy making, and it was happening week after week. And so I finally just said to her, you know, some days I don't think I'm going to have time to do business stuff, and that's okay. And this morning, instead, I chose to go to the gym.
Okay, I just want to say for anyone, like the gym thing is like a huge thing for Lisa Beth. Like
That's
like
awesome.
you having a gym that you can connect in and that you can go and make time. Like I'm so freaking proud of you to like, I'm so proud of you. Sorry.
And it's even a bigger deal because I broke my finger in January, and I was swimming 6 days a week at the gym and then working out, and I can't swim right now. And so I was telling myself, well, it's not worth to spend the gas to go to the gym when I have the exact same equipment in my basement. But I wasn't using it in the basement because it's so dreary down there. And I finally just made the decision that I am worth it. Just like I said 6 months ago, I'm worth it to buy a gym membership. I said to myself, I'm worth it to go to the gym, even if it costs gas money and I'm only doing one thing and I have this stupid piece of equipment in my basement. Fuck it, I'm going. I need it. So.
Yeah.
I know we're running out of time, so I just want to thank those who have shared from business school. If you've been listening to them, thank them for taking time out of their schedules. They have busy practices, and we're grateful for them to be here. Thank you, Stara, Lisa Beth. Lisa had to go. Courtney, I see you here. And all of our new cohort peeps showing up. Haley, Maria, Kelly, I see y'all. And I love seeing your faces, and Grinda, for just sharing your heart. It's so appreciated.